The Elder Care Protection Bill just passed. Here's what every American senior needs to know right now. Stop everything you're doing right now, because what I'm about to share with you could put hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars back into your pocket this year. A major piece of legislation has just moved through the United States Senate, and if you are over the age of 60, or if you have a parent, grandparent, or loved one who is, this affects you directly. We're talking about your retirement income, your prescription drug costs, your Social Security check, the safety of nursing homes, and the protection of your life savings from fraud. Here's the part that nobody is telling you. Not every benefit inside this bill is automatic. Some of them only kick in if you take action. Some have deadlines, and some require you to update your information with the right agency before the window closes. Miss the steps and you miss the money. It really is that simple.
So today, we are breaking down every single major change inside the Elder Care Protection Bill in plain, simple English. No legal jargon, no political spin, no confusion. Just the facts you need so that you and your family know exactly what you are now entitled to, what has changed, and what to do next to protect your future. Stick with me until the end, because the most important action steps are coming up later in this video, and you do not want to miss them. Why this bill exists. The background you need to understand. For decades, seniors across America have been quietly fighting a system that simply was not built with them in mind. Prescription drug prices that made absolutely no sense. Nursing homes operating with almost zero accountability. Cost of living adjustments that barely kept pace with the real expenses retirees face every single month. And a rising tide of elder financial fraud, robbing hardworking Americans of the savings they spent a lifetime building. These were not minor inconveniences. These were full-blown crises happening quietly inside millions of households across the country. Yet for years, lawmakers gave these issues only passing attention. The Elder Care Protection Bill is one of the most comprehensive pieces of senior-focused legislation passed in a generation. It touches nearly every area of life that matters most after the age of 60. Healthcare, housing, finances, mental health, caregiver support, and personal safety. And the reason we have to break it down in detail is because the news cycle moves fast. Headlines come and go, but the practical, real-world details, the parts that actually impact your wallet and your well-being, those rarely get the spotlight they deserve. That changes today. 1. Prescription drug pricing reform. Real savings at the pharmacy. Let's start with prescription drugs, because this is one of the biggest wins inside the bill, and it has been a long time coming. For years, Medicare was legally prohibited from negotiating drug prices directly with pharmaceutical companies. Think about how absurd that is. The largest single purchaser of prescription medication in the entire country was not allowed to use its size and buying power to bring down prices. Private insurance companies could negotiate. The Department of Veterans Affairs could negotiate. But Medicare, which covers more than 65 million Americans, could not. The result? Seniors in the United States were paying some of the highest prescription drug prices in the entire world for the exact same medicines that people in Canada, Germany, and Japan were getting for a fraction of the cost. The Elder Care Protection Bill expands and accelerates that reform process. Under the new rules, Medicare can now negotiate prices on a far broader list of medications, and those negotiated prices will take effect faster than previously planned. What does that mean in real life? If you are currently spending $200, $300, or even $500 a month on medication for diabetes, heart disease, blood pressure, or arthritis, there is a strong chance those costs are about to come down, not in some vague, distant future, on a rolling schedule that begins implementation now. The bill also caps annual out-of-pocket drug costs for Medicare beneficiaries. That means there is now a hard ceiling on what you will ever pay in a single year for your prescriptions, no matter how many medications you take or how expensive they are. For millions of seniors who have been forced to choose between filling a prescription and putting food on the table, this is not a small change. This is life-changing. 2. Social Security changes. a more accurate COLA and stronger funding. Now let's talk about Social Security, because this is the issue that gets people fired up. And rightfully so. Social Security has been the financial backbone of retirement in America since 1935. It was built as a promise. You work, you contribute, and when your working years end, the system supports you. But over time, that promise started feeling shaky. The annual cost of living adjustment, known as COLA, is supposed to protect your benefits from inflation. Every year, the Social Security Administration looks at inflation data and adjusts your monthly check accordingly. But here's the problem seniors have been pointing out for years. The inflation formula being used does not reflect how seniors actually spend their money. The standard formula tracks the spending of urban wage earners and clerical workers. It factors in things like gasoline, electronics, and work-related costs. But seniors spend differently. They spend significantly more on healthcare, prescription drugs, and in-home assistance. And those categories rise in price faster than almost anything else in the economy. The Elder Care Protection Bill addresses this directly by pushing for the adoption of an inflation index, specifically designed to track senior spending patterns. What that means is that your annual Social Security adjustment will finally start reflecting what your life actually costs. Over time, this could mean hundreds of additional dollars in your pocket every single year. On a fixed income, that adds up fast. The bill also tackles the long-running concern about Social Security's long-term funding. For years, experts warned that the trust fund could face depletion in the mid-2030s, which would have triggered automatic benefit cuts. Nobody wanted that. The bill strengthens the funding structure, primarily by adjusting the payroll tax cap, so higher earners contribute more into the system. This stabilizes Social Security not just for today's retirees, but for your children and grandchildren as well. 3. Nursing home reform. Stronger staffing, real accountability. Let's move to nursing home reform, because this part of the bill does not get enough attention, and it absolutely should. If you or someone you love is currently in a nursing home, or if you are even thinking ahead about that possibility, what happens inside those facilities matters enormously. The hard truth is that nursing home abuse and neglect in America has been a persistent problem. Reports from the Department of Health and Human Services have shown for years that a serious percentage of facilities have been cited for major violations: inadequate staffing, poor sanitation, medication errors, and in the worst cases, physical and emotional abuse of vulnerable residents. Under the Elder Care Protection Bill, nursing homes that receive Medicare and Medicaid funding, which is the vast majority of them, are now subject to much stricter staffing requirements. The new rules mandate minimum staffing ratios, meaning there must be a certain number of trained caregivers available for every resident in the building. This sounds bureaucratic, but in real life it means your mother, father, or spouse will actually have a real human being available to help them when they need it. Understaffing has been the root cause of countless tragedies inside care facilities, and this bill takes direct aim at that. The penalties for safety violations are also rising sharply. In the past, fines were so small that some facilities treated them as a routine cost of doing business. That is over. Fines are now significantly higher, and repeat offenders face the possibility of losing their Medicare and Medicaid funding entirely, which for most facilities is essentially a business death sentence. This creates a real financial incentive to follow the rules and treat residents with dignity. There are also new transparency requirements. Nursing homes must now make their inspection reports, staffing data, and violation history easily accessible to the public. So when you research a facility for yourself or a loved one, you'll have real information, not just the glossy brochure they hand you at the front desk. 4. Elder financial fraud protection. Defending your life savings. Now let's spend time on something that does not get nearly the attention it deserves. Elder financial fraud. This is a silent epidemic in America. Every single year, older Americans lose tens of billions of dollars to scammers, con artists, and financial predators. The schemes come in every form imaginable: phone calls from fake IRS agents, Medicare fraud, investment scams, romance scams targeting lonely widows and widowers, contractors who take a deposit and disappear, even family members or caregivers who quietly drain the accounts of someone who trusted them. The FBI has consistently ranked elder financial exploitation as one of the fastest-growing crimes in the country, and victims often feel too ashamed or confused to report what happened to them. The Elder Care Protection Bill creates a dedicated funding stream to fight back. That means more federal investigators trained to recognize and pursue these cases, more resources for victim recovery and support, and stronger coordination between federal agencies, state law enforcement, and financial institutions. Banks and credit unions are now encouraged, and in many cases required, to flag suspicious activity in accounts held by seniors and to follow specific protocols for reporting potential exploitation. This is huge because banks are often the very first institution to spot the warning signs. A sudden large withdrawal, multiple wire transfers to an unfamiliar account, a new name suddenly added to a long-standing account. These are red flags, and now financial institutions have both the tools and the responsibility to act on them. The bill also funds public education campaigns aimed at seniors directly, because the truth is, the strongest defense against fraud is awareness. When you know the tactics, you are far less likely to fall for them. 5. Housing and aging in place. Staying in the home you love. Let's talk about housing, because for most seniors, the home they live in is their single biggest asset and the center of their entire life. The ability to age in place, to grow older surrounded by your memories, your neighbors, and your community, is something most people deeply want. But the reality is that most homes were not built for the later stages of life. Stairs become dangerous, bathrooms without grab bars become accident sites, doorways that are too narrow for a walker or wheelchair turn into barriers to independence. And the modifications needed to safely stay home can cost thousands of dollars that many retirees simply do not have. The Elder Care Protection Bill significantly expands funding for home modification assistance. Through grants and low-interest loan programs, eligible seniors can now access financial help to install ramps, widen doorways, add walk-in showers, improve lighting, and make kitchens more accessible. These are not luxury renovations. They are basic safety upgrades that allow people to remain independent and avoid being forced into a care facility before they are truly ready. The bill also invests in expanding affordable senior housing more broadly. Communities designed with accessibility, healthcare access, and social connection in mind. Because here is something most people don't realize. Chronic loneliness in older adults is as harmful to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That is what the research shows. Investing in housing that keeps seniors connected protects both physical and emotional well-being. Mental health access. Removing the barriers. The Elder Care Protection Bill also includes important provisions to expand access to mental health services for Medicare beneficiaries. Right now, accessing mental health care through Medicare is often complicated, expensive, and limited. Many therapists do not accept Medicare patients because reimbursement rates are too low. And the stigma around mental health remains especially strong among older generations who grew up in a time when these things simply were not talked about. The bill works to break down these barriers by improving reimbursement rates for mental health providers serving Medicare patients and by expanding telehealth options so seniors in rural areas or those with mobility challenges can receive counseling from home. Grief, loss, chronic pain, the fear of becoming dependent. These are real emotional weights that millions of older Americans carry every day. Seeking help is not weakness, it is wisdom. And this bill helps push back against the outdated idea that says otherwise. 7. Caregiver support. Finally recognizing the families behind the scenes. Now let's talk about caregivers, because this is a topic that falls through the cracks in nearly every policy conversation, even though it affects tens of millions of families. Right now, there are an estimated 53 million unpaid family caregivers in the United States. Sons, daughters, spouses, siblings, and friends who have taken on the enormous responsibility of caring for an aging loved one. often while working full-time and managing their own families and health. The toll is staggering. Caregiver burnout is real. Depression among caregivers is extremely common. And historically, these individuals have received almost no financial support, no formal training, and very little recognition. The Elder Care Protection Bill changes that. New tax credits are now available for family caregivers, allowing them to recover some of the money they spend on their loved one's care. There is funding for caregiver training programs, so family members managing complex medical situations at home can do so safely. And there are expanded respite care options, allowing caregivers to take temporary breaks without feeling like they are abandoning their responsibilities. A rested, supported caregiver is a better caregiver, and that means a better quality of life for the senior they care for. This is a win in every direction. 8. Medicare expansion, dental, vision, and hearing. Now let's address a piece of the bill that has been generating major headlines: the broader push to expand Medicare to cover dental, vision, and hearing services. Right now, original Medicare does not cover routine dental care, routine eye exams, or hearing aids. This is a major gap because these are not vanity services. Untreated gum disease has been linked to heart disease, diabetes complications, and cognitive decline. Vision problems increase the risk of falls and accidents. And untreated hearing loss is one of the strongest modifiable risk factors for dementia. The Elder Care Protection Bill makes real progress here. While full Medicare expansion remains an ongoing political battle, this bill includes new subsidies to help beneficiaries afford hearing aids, which can cost thousands of dollars. It includes pilot programs expanding dental care access through federally qualified health centers, and it expands vision care through community health programs. It is not everything advocates have pushed for, but it is meaningful progress in the right direction. What you need to do right now. Action steps. Now this is the most important part of the entire video, so pay close attention. Not everything in this bill is automatic. Some benefits require an application. Some require you to update your information with Medicare or Social Security. Some have enrollment windows you do not want to miss. Start with your local Social Security office or visit the official Social Security Administration website. If your state has a state health insurance assistance program, and every state does, make an appointment with a Medicare counselor. This service is completely free, unbiased, and designed specifically to help people in your situation understand changes exactly like these. And here is a critical warning. Be extremely careful about anyone who calls, texts, emails, or messages you offering to help you apply for new benefits under this bill in exchange for money or personal information. Scammers move fast. Within days of any major legislation, con artists begin crafting pitches around it to trick seniors out of their Medicare numbers, Social Security numbers, or banking details. Remember, legitimate government services are always free. The Social Security Administration will never call you demanding immediate action. Medicare will never request your credit card over the phone. If anything feels wrong, hang up, close the browser, and call the official agency yourself. Final thoughts. Why this moment matters. Take a moment to think about your own life. Think about the things that have kept you up at night. Standing at the pharmacy counter, deciding which prescription to fill this month because you couldn't afford them all. Watching a parent suffer in a facility too understaffed to provide proper care. Getting a call from your bank about a transaction you didn't recognize. Sitting alone on a quiet afternoon, wondering if anyone out there truly understood how hard this chapter of life can be. This bill is not a magic solution. No single piece of legislation ever is. But it is a real, substantial effort to make life better for older Americans in tangible, measurable ways. And more than anything, it is a signal that the issues facing seniors are finally being seen and taken seriously after years of feeling invisible. There are still battles ahead. Implementation takes time. Budget fights happen every year. The forces that benefit from the old system, pharmaceutical companies, irresponsible nursing home chains, financial predators, will not give up easily. They will lobby, they will litigate, they will try to chip away at this progress. which is exactly why it matters that you stay informed, stay engaged, and stay connected. Because the strongest protection for any law is an informed public that understands what is at stake and refuses to let it be taken away. Knowledge is power, and now you have it.